to Literacy Learning Corner with Jenny Chung. My literacy learners are two 7th grade band students, Mark and Audrey. Mark is a percussionist. Audrey plays alto saxophone. In his free time, Mark enjoys playing sports, especially soccer. Audrey enjoys playing her instrument, drawing, and going outside to enjoy nature. As far as literacy goes, the learners' experiences contrasted with each other, which made this project quite interesting. Mark, in general, only reads when asked. At home, when he does read, he enjoys reading comic books and graphic novels. His reading consists mostly of school reading. He finds his English reading most enjoyable. To understand text better, he usually rereads or asks his teacher or peers for help. When we chatted, he could not think of any other method he uses to aid his comprehension. Mark writes outside of school even less frequently than he reads. He basically writes only for functional or educational purposes. He considers his math class the most difficult in terms of writing. Musically, he consumes mostly pop and rap music. He does not listen to band music outside of school. This is important to note because listening is a key part to aiding musical literacy. He says that they do a lot of reading in band, which I have observed to be accurate, since they do some reading or rehearsing during every class period. In band, Mark considers himself to be a subpar reader. His strategy is to try to memorize as many of the notes as possible instead of trying to read them fluently for complete oral comprehension. This results in some effective playing. However, when sight reading new pieces on mallet instruments, he struggles with trying to read the notes while also trying to play his instrument. He looks up, then down, and in that transition misses some notes. So his strategy works for long-term performance goals, but it's not good to use when sight reading, the word they use for reading a piece for the first time. Writing-wise, they write regularly, at least once a week, on Writing Wednesdays, which usually consist of an active listening activity where students have to analyze a listening sample and write about their observations. In general, Mark does not bring a rich literacy background to his school experiences, as he does not do much to actively augment his literacy learning. More on this later when we look at one of his assignments. One thing that was especially interesting to me from our conversations was that Mark considers drum parts easier to read than mallet parts. This is intriguing because in mallet parts, there are specific pitches that one has to read, whereas in drum parts, there are only rhythms, no pitches. You can see this in this picture, depicting a couple samples of drumming etudes. Note that the notes are all in the same space, with different notes indicating different instruments, so the students really only have to read one line at a time. This is different from mallet music, which looks more like what you are probably used to, with different notes in addition to the rhythm notation. The combination of melody and rhythm apparent in mallet music seems to make it more difficult to read than drum parts, which makes what Mark says interesting because that may be a general trend worth exploring, especially in beginning band students. Audrey, on the other hand, reads for fun. Her favorite genre is fiction because it allows her to exercise her imagination better than nonfiction texts do. She also writes outside of school whenever she feels like she needs to get something out or she has a lot on her mind. She writes about once every other week. Because she augments her academic literacy with such frequent casual literacy, Audrey is able to both enjoy and more deeply explore classroom subjects, especially those that involve reading and writing. Her literacy experiences from home aid her understanding of her literacy experiences in band class. She says that when she struggles with note reading, she will reread and ask for help from her peers and the teacher. While these strategies are the same she uses for other non-musical notation, those are still great practices for reading music. Musically, her listening experiences are a wealth of all types of music, but mostly pop. That means her auditory experience consists mostly of repetitive tunes, often in major tonality, which then affects her literacy in the band classroom. Think of listening like reading. The greater the variety of reading you do, the more literate you are. Same with listening. Since pop tunes represent only a small portion of the possible tonal and rhythm options in music, Audrey, despite listening to music every day, actually does not bring a diverse listening experience to the band classroom. However, she does occasionally listen to band music, which is great because that aids her reading in band class. It seems that Audrey uses her non-musical literacy skills even for reading music. When reading notes in band, such as from this methods book, I saw that her eyes move note to note. While reading note to note can be effective, it's important to look at more than just the notes in music. There are other things like phrase structure, dynamics, and style which one must take into account. However, she does exercise great musical literacy skills as well. She has the habit of looking up at the conductor at the ends of phrases. This habit demonstrates enhanced musical literacy, since it is an execution of ensemble playing skills. Ensemble playing skills are important because not only does the musician have to physically read their own music, they also have to watch the conductor and get visual cues from him or her. With so much listening and watching needed, it's great to see Audrey, a beginning band student, exercising ensemble awareness. As you may have noticed, I learned more about my students' approach to literacy from interviewing and observing them than from analyzing their work. However, their work was surprising. Despite his lack of literacy activity outside of school, Mark's work was in complete sentences and truly fulfilled the intentions of the assignment, while Audrey's work was merely lists of incomplete sentences. Although it is hard for me to connect traditional literacy strategies to band assignments, I do have a couple suggestions for both of them. One would be to do more listening to a wider variety of music outside of class. That will enhance their listening vocabulary, which will make them more aware of what's going on when doing listening in class. Another thing to do is to play more. Playing increases your kinesthetic connection to a wider variety of rhythms and melodies, which, the more you do it, makes reading difficult and more challenging musical material easier. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with these two students on this project. Thanks for watching.